So, top 5 fragrances that are cloned. Now these are the top 5 fragrances that are cloned that are in my collection, my own collection. There might be others out there, but I feel like these are very, very, very popular fragrances and they have been cloned over and over and over again. I even have some of the clones. Even though I don't really love clones, somehow they end up in my collection. So today I'm going to talk to you about 5 different fragrances that are very, very popular from the niche world, and they're cloned. They're cloned over and over again. I'm not going to focus on the actual clones. I'm basically going to talk about the actual fragrances themselves, and most likely you've heard of these fragrances as they're very, very popular, and you probably have even heard of the clones themselves. So today I'm ranking them. If you're curious to learn about these top 5 cloned fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about 5 fragrances that are in my collection that are the most cloned. So these fragrances are cloned over and over and over and over again. And you know, some of them are cloned exactly with a very, very minute difference. Some are cloned in a way that it starts reminding me of the fragrance that I think is cloned, and then they change directions with the notes. You know, sometimes the top notes and the heart notes remind you of a fragrance, and then in the base notes it goes into a different direction. So that's the case with a lot of these fragrances, and you know, they're so popular, brands are going to clone them. You know, there's going to be the clone houses that are going to continuously clone them. There are going to be the luxury houses that all they do is act like they're luxury houses, but sometimes they clone them, and some of them have original fragrances along with their cloned fragrances, but they're so popular that they're going to get cloned. I don't mind the fact that sometimes if they're inspired by a fragrance and they kind of sort of smell like it and it goes in a different direction, I don't mind that part. But if it's a flat out copy, then I'm not really into that, because I come from a world of music rights, and that's my day job. I work in music legal rights and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of like copying. Like if you can't copy a song unless you pay royalties, you should not be able to do that with fragrances as well. Anyway, these are the top 5 most cloned fragrances in my collection. I'll get to them, but before I do that, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please do click the subscribe button below, and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So we'll start off with the first one, and this is actually a designer house, and it's, well, sort of going into the niche world. It's from the house of Tom Ford, and it was a toss-up between this one or another one, which is Tobacco Vanille. I've seen so many clone-y kind of inspired clones of Tobacco Vanille, but in the end, I've seen more of this particular fragrance, and this is actually from the Tom Ford signature collection. It's Black Orchid. This is a very popular fragrance from this house, and it's a very, very earthy experience with dark chocolate and truffles, and this is where the earthiness comes in, the truffles. It's the kind of truffles that grow underground, you know, when the dogs or the pigs have to smell them out and find them. They're very, very expensive, and I love to eat them myself, but that's what it features here, truffles with patchouli, orchid, vanilla, incense, spices. The new version, the Perfume, is also awesome, but this particular version has been copied over and over and over again. Now, the way I'm doing this video, I'm going to ask you each time I talk about a fragrance, and you let me know if you've heard of or have sampled any actual clones of this particular fragrance, Black Orchid. So now, if you have a favorite clone, or if you're just a fan of Black Orchid, let me know. But also, if you know of a clone that you love of Black Orchid, please put it down, let me find out. But in the end, I think this is one of the more popular fragrances from Tom Ford, especially in the signature collection. They've had multiple flankers throughout the years, and as I said, they just came out with the Perfume. And when a brand, for me, the way I look at a brand is if they're continuing making flankers or versions or variations of a fragrance, it means it's popular. And the fact that it is also cloned over and over again by different brands, it's definitely a very, very popular fragrance. So I'm putting this at the bottom of the list. This is number 5, and as I said, I am ranking them. I don't find as many clones of this particular fragrance as I do of the other ones that are after this, but in the end, I have ran into many, many clones of this one. And so, what are your thoughts? Let me know. Black Orchid from the house of Tom Ford. Next, it's going to the house of Frederic Malle. It's Portrait of a Lady. So this was a toss-up for me between Black Orchid and Portrait of a Lady. I've seen many clones of Portrait of a Lady or fragrances that smell similar to it. I think overall it was maybe 5 or 6 different versions of this one, maybe 4 to 5 of this one that I've smelled. So in the end, I find them to be cloned quite a bit, especially in my collection, because I was going through the entire collection to see what I've seen or smelled clones of. Definitely these 5 are the most. But in the end, Portrait of a Lady is one of my favorite fragrances. It is a very, very popular fragrance. And the very first time I was buying this back in 2012, when I went to Barney's here at that time to buy a bottle, there was another woman buying the same fragrance. And it was quite new at the time, so it wasn't out that long, especially since it's celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. But what's this one all about? Rose, cloves, patchouli, incense, raspberry. There is a cinnamony touch. There's also kind of a resinous touch in the base, but in the end it's a powerhouse, big, bad, dark, gothic rose with, you know, smoky incense and, you know, just a patchouli and the cloves, the raspberry, and there's even black currant. So it does have fruity touches here, which is nice contrast along with the other notes. And I could see why it's copied quite a bit or cloned quite a bit, because it's popular. Plus, it's very, very expensive. This is much more expensive than this. I think this is around 180. This is double the price. So it's definitely a pricey fragrance, and people that clone fragrances know they can make money from cloning very, very expensive fragrances, especially once someone finds a clone of it and they like the way it's turned out. And so anyway, what are your favorite clones of Portrait of a Lady? Do you have a favorite clone? Do you know of any? And also, do you like Portrait of a Lady as a fragrance on its own? Do you have a bottle? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. And again, as I said, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a survey here to see if you know of any fragrances that are clones of this. I know them. I'm just not going to mention them in this video. But if you know of any clones or similar fragrances to Portrait of a Lady, please put a comment down. And also, if you like this fragrance on its own and you have a bottle of this fragrance. Portrait of a Lady, number 4. Next fragrance, going to the house of Le Labo, it's Santal 33. Now this one, man, it was a kind of a not a love at first sniff for me. This one, it took a while for me to grow into it, and in the end I like the idea of sandalwood, and it's called Santal 33 after all. But this is a different kind of sandalwood. It's a crunchy sandalwood, cucumbery sandalwood, wood chippings kind of sandalwood. And traditionally, even as a younger late teens, actually I was a young adult, when I gave my mom a bottle of Guerlain Samsara, that sandalwood in there was the kind of sandalwood I was used to, and I've always loved all throughout the years, until I smelled this and I was like, this is weird. And similar reaction to other fragrances I've had that are not love at first sniffs, because it just rubs me the wrong way, because I'm not used to it, and I'm used to something, I stick with it. I'm that kind of a person. I'm fine having the same food over and over and over again, because I know it's you know, it's reliable, it's been proven, and I know how it tastes and all that good stuff. So adventuring out and doing something new and changing my thought process about it, it takes some time. And that's kind of what this experience was with this fragrance, because it was different. It's a different kind of sandalwood, but I've grown you know, into it, so I like it now. But it's also very, very much cloned. So many different fragrances. With this one, it's either a flat-out clone. Whenever somebody makes a sandalwood, this is what it's going to smell like. Whenever somebody's going to make either papyrus or cypriol fragrance, it's going to smell like this, because this one not only has sandalwood, it's also got that, I think it's papyrus or cypriol, which they have similar smells to me. In the end, they kind of end up smelling like this. So it's a little not confusing, but it's a little odd that this fragrance, the smell of this fragrance, is replicated over and over and over again. It's just, I get tired of it. I know sometimes the creamy, smooth, milky sandalwood can end up smelling repetitive, like it's been done before, because you can't do much with it. But then again, this has been done before as well, so much that it's like the signature Santal 33 smell, and it's been done over and over and over again. Let me know if you're a fan of Santal 33, and also, do you have a bottle of Santal 33? Also, let me know if you have a good clone instead of Santal 33, and what are they? And if you know of any others that you've thought about getting, put a comment down so I can find out. As I said, I'm taking a little bit of a survey to find out what each of you guys think of this fragrance, and if you wear the original fragrance or do you wear a clone or similar fragrance or inspired fragrance of Santal 33. Interesting that these two, well actually these three are part of Estee Lauder. These are part of Estee Lauder, and they've all been cloned a lot, so that's interesting that way. Anyway, that's Santal 33, my third most cloned fragrance. As I said, I'm ranking them from the least cloned to the most cloned. So the next two are going to be kind of a tie, and I've lost track of how many similar fragrances of these two fragrances are. And you probably already know about this because I've already spoken about them. All right, the next one is going to be from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's Baccarat Rouge, and this is my Baccarat Rouge Extrait version. And I find that this and the next fragrance are just really, 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 really cloned to the max. Like so many different versions. In fact, I actually did a video called Baccarat Rouge 540 Babies. If you want to catch that video, you can. And in that video, I'm speaking about all these different inspired or cloned fragrances after this particular fragrance because it's pretty popular. It's a very, very popular fragrance. It's also very expensive. It's pricey, so that's why it's going to be cloned a lot or copied or inspired from. But this one's known for Saffron with Ambroxan, Jasmine, Fir, Cedar, Almond, although the Almond is only in the Extrait version, which I find a little smoother. But the smell is fantastic. And again, not a love at first sniff. Both of these were not love at first sniffs. Not at all. This was a love at first sniff. But these two, I had a hard time warming up to them. Does that ever happen to you guys? Do you ever have a hard time warming up to a fragrance that everybody's hyping it, everybody loves it, it's so popular, and you go smell it and you're like, what is this? What the hell did I just smell? It doesn't even smell great. It's not something I'm used to, and I don't like it. But yeah, this grew on me just like that. It just kept coming back to it over and over again, and I would just bombard it with the smell over and over and over again. But now I'm such obsessed with this one. It's just that kind of a fragrance. And I think it's the Ambroxan just does it for me. Recently I featured this at #1 in my top 20 fragrances that leave the sexiest trail video. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch that. There's 20 different fragrances including this, which is 19 more. And you can discover the fragrances that are leaving the sexiest trail, and I find that this does leave a sexy trail, really, really sexy trail. I've smelled it so much around the city, in halls, in elevators, and I absolutely love it. It's just very, very sexy smell. I don't know what it is. I think I'm not going to call it a masterpiece. No, it's not a masterpiece for me, but I think it's a winner. Maison Francis Kurkdjian has created a winner, definitely a winner. Because if it's not a winner, they're not going to clone it. It's not going to get copied. I mean, even Francis Kurkdjian copied it himself for Burberry. He used some of the notes in here to create some accord to transfer it over to Burberry Her. So it's popular. It's really, really popular. That's why it's copied or cloned or inspired from. So this is #2, but it's very close to the next one, and you probably know what it is. But let me know if you are a fan of the Maison Francis Kurkdjian Baccarat Rouge 540 collection, the two versions, and if you have a bottle and you wear it. Also, if you don't, what are your favorite clones or inspired fragrances that are inspired from this? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out whether you have a bottle of this or the original version or a clone or maybe decants even as well. So you can put down anything like that. Like I said, I'm taking a short survey to see what each person has and so on. So that is Maison Francis Kurkdjian Baccarat Rouge 540. That's the Extrait version. Of course, there's the original version as well. Last but not least, the two fragrances in this video, we're celebrating 10 years. Of course, this is 10 years old. And last but not least, it's AVENTUS. And I think this is probably the most cloned fragrance. In fact, going back to 2013 when I had my other channel, I did a video called AVENTUS Killers, which actually we did last week with my 10-year anniversary video of this fragrance. If you haven't caught that, you can, to find some alternatives of this, which there are some fragrances that are similar to this, I find, and I feel like this is very, very copied. It's probably even more than Baccarat Rouge. I mean, I'm thinking that there's a lot of overlap with how many there are clones or copies or inspired fragrances from these two fragrances, but I think AVENTUS, since AVENTUS did come before. Baccarat Rouge is only 5 years old, this is 10 years old. Since AVENTUS came before, I feel like there's a lot more clones, and the clones or copies or inspired fragrances started out in about 2012, 2013. So I know that it just gets overly copied. And I think people love the smell of this one, and even I mentioned in my last week's videos, I think it just needs, it's a crowd pleaser. People tend to like it, and it gets compliments. It garners compliments. It smells great, especially once it's mixed with somebody's chemistry. You know, their I don't know, when they spray it and whatever chemistry they have, and a little bit of projection, or like if you leave a trail behind, people will pick it up and smell it. And it's just a very, very hyped fragrance. It's very popular, and I feel like out of all the 5 fragrances I spoke about today, this is the most copied in my collection. There are others, but this takes the cake. It's really, really copied a lot over and over and over again. But let me know if you have a bottle of Creed AVENTUS. And if you don't have a bottle of it, I'm sure you probably have a clone of it. There are so many clones out there. I mean, even Zara's done probably 3 or 4 of different clones, if not 10. They do them all the time. So probably you have a bottle of Creed AVENTUS. It's very, very popular. But if you don't, you probably have a clone. So put a comment down below. As I said, I'm taking a survey to find out what you have. Do you have a bottle of the original Creed AVENTUS, or do you have an inspired fragrance or a clone, or something you know, different, a remake or something. Anyway, those are the 5 fragrances I'm talking about today, but also wanted to find out from you guys, out of these 5, what are the next 5 you think that are cloned most? So I'd like to put a top 10 together. As I said, I was going to talk about Tobacco Vanille, but I felt like it was not as much as this. I haven't run into clones of that one as much. But if you have 5 more fragrances that you think that are cloned a lot, or inspired, or remade, please put a comment down so I can find out what they are. I want to check them out and, you know, smell them, compare them to the original, and so on. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.